Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Garbage. My name is Eric Myers, and if you didn't know, Mind Garbage is a show that airs every Friday, and I talk to you about whatever I want for roughly 10 minutes, whether it's about video games, or movies, or television, or comic books, or whatever. Today, in this case, I'm going to be talking to you about video games, one in particular, known as Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Now, I never played Human Revolution. I wanted to, never got around to it. It looked pretty cool, but then I was like, I got all this other stuff to play, you know. So I went and just didn't play it. This time around, I waited and saw more stuff for this, and I thought, I was like, I'll dive in. I'll give it a dive. I'll check it out. And so far, I really like it. I think there are things that are not great about it, but the things that it does really good at, it really shines, really excellently. Also, spoilers, I haven't beaten the game yet. I'm about halfway through, so this is kind of like just midway early impressions. But if you don't want to be spoiled by anything, click off this video and beat the game. But don't spoil it for me, because I probably haven't beaten it yet. Who knows? But we'll see. So far, the things that I really like about this game is the level design. Augments, I think, are really awesome, the way that they are introduced and actually built. And then just the overall vibe that I get of like the environments with everything. I think from a level design, this game is really, really good. Really good. It's somewhere in between Dishonored and, from what I hear, the original, like Deus Ex Human Revolution. Not the original Deus Ex, but of this new, I suppose, trilogy that they'll end up doing. The thing that I really like is that in most games normally that is like stealth action, you have generally about 2 to 3 options on how to do something. So you have your loud approach, your sneaky approach, and then kind of a mix between the two. The thing that I really enjoy about this is that it's tailored to a lot of different styles, and there are many different ways to accomplish the same goal. So for instance, there's one level where you have to break, it's like one of the first like main missions that you get, where you go into this other city, I think it's Gollum City, and you just have to get into this one facility, get this information or whatever, get out. I'm paraphrasing because I'm paying attention to the story, but it's also one of those things where it's interesting, but it's not really grabbing me, which is a gripe that I kind of have with it. But I'm just, from a level design perspective, I can talk about it, is that the thing that I enjoy is that you walk in and there's so many different things that happen where, like, I go through this one way, I'm like, okay, this is the way to get in. And then as I'm walking through, I see a vent or something, or a box that's in the way. I'm like, oh, I could have gone through there and totally completed the objective the same way, but differently. Because there was a big box that was, or not a big box, like something covering this vent that I climbed through originally that I wouldn't have been able to get through unless my augment to be really strong and lift refrigerators and throw them off tall buildings, which is the funniest thing ever, if I just didn't have that. And then there's another thing with like hacking, and one thing that I really enjoy about that is that, again, with the level design of that, where there's so many different ways, but nothing ever feels like you can't get this done because you don't have this. There's a million different ways to do the same thing, which is something I really appreciate. So say for instance there's a locked room, you can, if you have the augments that are appropriate, you can hack into that room, or you can look for a computer, and if it's a lower level, you can hack that computer and find the key code for it. You can go around, maybe there's a structural weakness on the other side that you can climb through around and then punch through and get through that way. So, I mean, right there, that's like 3 ways, and then sometimes you can just find a key card or whatever and get right in. And so that's one thing that I really enjoy, is the level design really like builds into how these augments work. And that's another thing that I like, is the augments. I think generally this is kind of similar to like Dishonored, where you have different sets of abilities, whereas instead of them just being like supernatural powers or whatever, they're actual like cyberpunky augmentations or whatever. And I think that really suits the style of this game, obviously. But one of the things that I really like is that you have this thing where you have these experimental augments that are in your system, and you have to, if you want to use them, you have to essentially delete one of the other augments that's like a main one, or one that you don't use. So you can kind of build your character the way that you want depending on your playstyle. And normally it's like, oh, you can be loud and shoot, or you can be stealthy and do this or that or whatever. This really feels like you can create a character build that is uniquely, I guess, just unique to your own play setting. So for instance, I don't kill anyone and I'm incredibly stealthy. So my character, I can go invisible, I can be really silent and quiet, I can hack things from a distance, and I'm building up my hacking to where it's really high level. That being said, my character does not have a lot of health, and I'm not really good with weapons and all that, aside from a good stun gun. But if I wanted to build that thing out, I could. And one of the things that I enjoyed, and this is something that I heard that was a problem in Human Revolution that they seem to have fixed, is that before you could build out your augments, and then you could be put in a situation where it's like, I don't know how to handle this because I have not built my character for this encounter. Whereas in Mankind Divided, they give you so many different options that even with bosses, you can talk down the bosses, talk to them, and they have this one little thing where that I think is a cool augment, and it makes you like pay attention to how they're saying and then reading them, and it essentially gives you these different options to where it's like, okay, this is the best response that I can use for this guy, and you know, whatever, to diffuse the situation. And I think that's really, really cool. So overall, the augmentations themselves are actually very unique, and I'm excited to beat it so that I can hop into a second playthrough and do more lethal, because there's just really cool stuff. Apparently you shoot swords out of your, you know, body. That sounds fantastic. That sounds like exactly something I want to do. Another thing that I really enjoy is the actual, just the world itself. I think technically this game is not very good, and which kind of I don't understand because it was in development for so long. There are times where when you are running and there's too much going on screen, and I'm playing on a PS4, there's a lot of slowdown. I hear that's not the case on PC. So if you are playing on PS4 or you want to play it on PS4, be mindful of that. One of the things that I enjoy, though, like I said, about is the environment, and that this has a very distinct feeling of that, you know, normally you see future stuff and it's always like far-flung. This isn't that far in the future for us. It's like 2029, so that's a little over 10 years for us. 13 years to be exact from today. And I think it's super interesting the way it's done, because not everything is like hyper crazy. There is these augments and things that people have these cool abilities and can do stuff, but it has this weird thing where it has like a social commentary on stuff that's going on kind of right now, which is weird that they actually were able to do that. Certain things, like you see signs that are like Aug Lives Matter, you know, the augmented people, and there's a real just prejudice against augmented people, which I think is super interesting, in that if you're even suspected of doing that, like being an augmented person or whatever, like there's these random security checks, which admittedly get annoying because it's kind of like, all right, I get it, like you guys are really cracking down on everyone here for literally no reason, but I would really like to play your game. But from a story perspective, I get that. Overall, story-wise, I am not too deep into it. Like I said, I've put in, I would like to say, about 10 to 15 hours in this game. I have no idea how close I am to beating it. I think there's like 12, 13 missions, and I'm on 9. I guess I just said how close I am, but I'm not sure. There could be more missions. There could be less. I could be on the last one and not even know it. But there's definitely a lot of intrigue stuff that is interesting. But we'll see how that pays off. Overall, and I guess I didn't really spoil too much, so let's just, you know, I'm not going to put a spoiler warning in this. So you've already gotten to the end of this video and you realize there's no spoilers. You're safe. But tell your friend who's about to watch this video that he doesn't have to worry. Everything's fine. It's okay. Overall, I think that this game, if you're just looking at it purely from a gameplay and just world building and kind of lore around it perspective, this game is really good. And I'm really, really impressed. It's not my game of the year by any means. That still goes to Uncharted 4. But I'm having a great time with it. And if you're looking for it, if you either want to get it on the cheap or you just want to have something that would be fun to play or whatever, pick it up. You might like it. And if you like stealth action, you owe it to yourself to check it out. thank you very much for watching. If you like, you can like, subscribe, share, everything, do all that fun stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at EricMyers93. The link is down below. And thank you very much for watching. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Or ladies.